Thank you for tuning in to another episode of my Veterans to Success podcast. You probably know by now, my mission is to help 1 million veterans and entrepreneur business owners achieve the dreams, goals, and aspirations they deserve. That is why I created the Veterans to Success podcast, because I get to interview guys, men and women, who want to share their fascinating stories with you about their time before, during and after their time in the military, so you can benefit and overcome your challenges. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be mesmerized, astounded, and entertained. Hello and welcome to this edition of the podcast. And today I've got someone with me who's quite an amazing chap. His name's Adrian. And as always, there's no big introduction necessarily because the story unfolds as we go along. Adrian, welcome today. Thank you for joining me.
Morning, Joe. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you. And all the better for seeing you. How are you?
I'm very good. You look very smart this morning.
Thank you. And well, I tell you what, I know you're going to talk about it a bit later. For those of you who are only listening to the podcast, you really must go on to YouTube because that craft behind you is just amazing. And we're going to talk about that a bit more later, aren't we?
Hopefully.
Yeah. So, right. Well, we've had a good chat and we had a good chat at a professional advisors management retreat some time ago. Yeah. And we went through our military career, and I thought, wow, I've got to have a chat and put this on the record, so to speak. So tell me a bit about your time before the military. What went on in your life?
I was meant to be a farmer, Joe, to be honest.
Right, a farmer. Okay.
So I worked with farmers at school. We used to have Brooksby College. Used to be the agricultural college. Used to come to the farm to do sheep farming. So I had an honorary place, but I knew nothing about cows. So I knew pigs, sheep. So I did about 6 sort of years of seeing the intakes come along from Brooksby at Melton. It was quite interesting to see how they went off in different careers afterwards. But they said, I need some experience with cows. So I went to see a guy called John Smith at Leicester. And he offered me a job at £25 a week when the board was £35 a week. And now I'm not very good at maths, being a financial advisor, obviously. But I said, how does that work? He said, oh, you have to do overtime. I said, what, every week? He said, yeah, every week. So that was the end of my farming career. My dad had the first garage door company in the UK where you push the button and the garage door go up. And I worked with him for a while. The recession came along. So basically I needed a job.
Which recession was that, by the way?
Early 80s.
Right, yeah, because I remember that recession as well. Yeah.
So basically, I needed a job. I needed somewhere to live. I wanted to travel, so I joined the army. Simple as that.
Right. Okay.
From farming to the army.
So it was. Well, I mean, right. So being a farmer to where you grow things from being the army. What prompted you to just want to join the military, the army?
I always had an action man. I had a military police action man as a kid. My dad was in the Air Force, and we grew up in Cyprus during the coup in the 70s.
Right.
But my dad was, other than the Air Force, he worked on the Marine craft. So basically, in Limassol, there was 5 MTB boats, which were the rescue boats for they had the U2 there, the Vulcans, the Lightnings. Although the U2 wasn't there really, but it was. So the idea being if they crash landed in the sea, they'd land in Limassol Bay, and the boats would go out. So when we were kids, I got 2 brothers. We used to go out on these boats and play around and have fun. And but I thought, no, just went past the careers office one day, went in, did the test, and next thing I was in the army. So
right. And what year was that?
God, that was 84.
Okay. Wow. And what branch of the army did you join?
I was in the military police.
Right. Okay. The military police. I had some great times with the military police, all for the correct reasons, by the way.
So did I.
So what?
Some of the wrong reasons.
So when you joined the military police, what was training like?
I think there's 38 of us turned up on day one. 7 of us passed out on six
How
months
many
later.
passed out?
7.
38. Wow. So that was a big attrition.
Yeah, so you had the people who were like back squatted who come around again. Um, but of the 7, 2 were junior leaders and 2 were had retrained. One guy was a medic and one guy was in the vet corps. So out of the 7, only sort of 3 of us really were there from day one.
Well, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So where was your first posting with
Dusseldorf in Germany. So that was my first choice. So you have a choice where you want to go. You had
yeah.
Berlin, Cyprus, which now obviously you don't get. But I put down Dusseldorf. It's close to the close protection team where I eventually joined. So it was all quite good really. So we dealt with JHQ as well, the headquarters down in Weindarlen.
Yeah, of course, I remember that. So what did you get up to? So you mentioned the close protection team. I know we've had a chat and some of it's a bit hush hush. What can you tell us about the close protection team? Because that can be
Uh,
pretty hairy at times, can't
it was it was interesting.
it?
um, we had the IRA was sort of trying to bomb us at the time, so
Yeah.
we were told not to shoot them, which is quite hard. Um, but no, it's quite frustrating. But when you're with the bosses, you're hearing their side of the story and the political side, whereas the us at the bottom had no idea what was really going on, apart from there's lots of bangs and you had
Yeah.
to sort of like deploy sort of quite quickly. But then when you're with the big bosses and you hear Douglas Hurd, he came across when he's the Ministry of Defence Minister. And actually talking to him sort of face to face without all the press, all the politics, all the yes and no sirs. Yeah, a better picture of what's going on behind the scenes makes it easier to do the job, really.
Right. And I mean, you had a few close incidents and injuries yourself. So what did that involve, if you don't mind talking about it?
I've been shot, stabbed, and bombed. and
Shot, shot, stabbed, and bombed. Right.
yeah, I think I got bombed 3 times. Um, but what's interesting, I met a general about 3 years ago who was a major when I was there, who remembered me, and it's funny what a small world you live in. And sort of
Yeah.
30 years later.
And I mean, I know you say it matter of fact. Shot, stabbed, and bombed is something that doesn't really happen in everyday life, does it?
No, you tell the guy down the pub, and he's all really.
Yeah, yeah,
But one of the best things is when the Americans launched the Apache helicopter in the 80s, they
yeah.
invited the Russians to come along to see it.
Right.
And that was really weird. And all these guys in like PVC black jackets and sunglasses turned up. And, and it's sort of like combats. And obviously the American generals were there. And it's interesting to see their version of what we did, who were basically like just, I'd say cowboys. But they just look like something from the like 70s Sweeney film. It's just quite funny.
So
But
how would you? Oh, go on. Sorry.
the Apache basically we're told to look at film. We knew what was going to come behind us. Everyone's looking forward. We're looking backwards. Of course, it comes down overhead and just basically lands in front of us. And the Russians are like crawling over this, and the poor sort of guys trying to get out of the plane. But I thought it was interesting to see why. And I said, well, to the boss, why are we showing the Russians our toys? He said, well, because they'll send spies and they'll break in, so it's easier for us to show them up front to know
Yeah.
what we've got compared to what they've got.
Yeah, which is a bit of one-upmanship, I suppose,
In
really.
a way, yeah, but it's like the Russians now. Their air force is really rubbish. They spent all the money on the submarines, so they've got 2 of the most leading submarines. This is like literally this year. They've got 2. I don't know what they are, but there's a name for it. But they spent all the money on their submarines. So hence, with Ukraine, they're really struggling with the air force and with the army because they've got no money.
Yeah, and I mean the submarines isn't much good for land
No, no,
contact. I mean, I was speaking to a mate of mine who's ex-RAF, and he worked on the Nimrods,
yeah,
and when they were up at whatever height they used to get to, they couldn't hear the Brits or the American subs the Russian subs just were dead easy to detect. I think they're a bit better now. But yeah, in fact, with the subs you've just mentioned, they will be a lot better. So I got you. So how long were you? How long did you serve, or what year did you get out from the MP?
Got it in 90. Then we had to do 3 years reservist in those days.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And
So,
what made you decide to get out?
my boss says, Banksy, I'm leaving the army. I think you should leave as well. So I said, if you're
Oh,
the boss of the army,
your boss said.
yeah. So here's the boss of Germany. And I thought if he's getting out, and he's basically the Cold War was coming to an end. The Berlin Wall was coming down. Kosovo didn't exist. Afghanistan wasn't there yet. Iran.
Yeah.
So basically, is at the time there's more females in the army then than there are the whole army together now. That makes sense.
Yeah. Got
So
you.
Germany basically was the Cold War. The Russians come over from Berlin down the Route 2 through Hohn, and basically all the people were stationed there at Hohn and Senlager to basically to repel them. Of course, that threat was gone, so there's no jobs really for the army to do really.
Yeah, I remember. I remember because back when the Falklands conflict kicked off, I was posted in West Germany, not far away from where you were actually, and I did volunteer for the Falklands, and they didn't take anyone from West Germany because the Cold War was on at the time,
Yeah.
and they only
And
took.
we used to have what's called a Socksmith card, which used to be a BMW, normally Russian with socks. Basically, it says Socksmith on the number plate. And they could come across the board and just belt down the routes and be chased by some of our colleagues.
Yeah.
And all they're doing is just sniffing around. But what you'd find is that there'd probably be 3 cars. One is bombing down at 90 miles an hour. There's 2 which are going off to try and sort of find other avenues, and quite often we'd sort of be bored and just tag on behind these other cars.
Yeah.
All they're doing basically is they're just being like spying on, driving through the camps and what's going on, just showing they're there. But there's no real threat there really, because they couldn't do it. They're two guys in a car, couldn't really do much. But there used to be a lot going on. But we had a new guy come out, and do you know the Rhine at all?
The Rhine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a huge river, polluted.
Yeah, that's
and we sent
right.
a guy up. So there's a Socksmith submarine coming up the Rhine. Go and get a number. So we sent this guy up to a beach for half a day, looking for submarines. But
yeah, do I know the Rhine? Flipping at the amount of times I've built bridges over that.
really,
Yeah,
is that Hamel?
yeah, and stuff. Yeah. Well, I was posted at Osnabrück, but we went down to Hamel to
Right,
work
yeah.
with 28 amphibious. Yeah, I remember that. So you left in 1990 after your boss said, "Well, I'm getting out," and I suggest you do, Banksy. So what happened then? What did you get up to?
Basically, there's not much call for close protection in the UK. I found out. I went to join the Leicestershire Police initially, and the reason I wanted to go then is my parents from Stamford, so Stamford is bordered in Cambridgeshire, Lincolnshire, Leicestershire, Northamptonshire, so I thought it's close to home. They got a helicopter, they got armed response, which is quite unusual. In fact, it was 89. This was.
Yeah.
And they got rural farms, they got motorways. So as a job, it's quite rural and a mixed bag of stuff. So my mum worked with a lady whose son she had 3 sons, all inspectors in the Leicestershire Police, and they said, "No, come along, have a chat." And went for the interview. And night before, you're all in this hotel. And there's a Marine there saying, I can do this run. You have to do a 1.5 mile run. So I can do it in 6 minutes. Thought, crikey. And there's a girl, so I can do it in 7 minutes. Thought, I used to be fairly fit. I could do it in probably 9.
Yeah.
So went to bed. Next morning, did the run. This Marine went off like a whip. So I followed him. So I'm going up the second leg. And this girl who's in sub 7 minutes was really struggling. So I finished this Marine finished, I finished. So this girl's really strong. So I went down the course again, did another lap to catch up. And I was sort of saying, "Come on, girl, you can do this." No, and I wasn't shouting at her. But no, she got over the line with seconds to spare, so fine. So you did all these tasks and come to the final interview. So, go and sign your firearms license. I said, "Well, I'm not in yet." No, you got in. So there's my photo. And literally, I'm with the firearms officer signing my declaration of what I've done, what I can shoot, etc. Went back into the interview, and there's 2 of the inspectors who my mum knew we were there, and the superintendent was there. So he said, "What do you know about the Leicester Police?" I said, "Well, basically, grew up in Stamford. It's quite rural, that side, but then you got the city, you got the rugby, you got the motorways, you got the ethnic minorities." He said, "Oh, tell me about Hindus and Muslims." I said, "Well, what do you want to know?" And he said, "Tell me about it." I said, "Well, Leicester is a multicultural city, hence I'm interested in joining." He said, "Tell me about Hindus and Muslims." I said, "Well, I don't know what to tell you." So he said, "How do you think the day went?" I said, I thought it showed teamwork when he helped this girl over the line and that." He said, "We thought you were quite aggressive." I said, "I'm not."
Oh, well,
And so I said, "In what way?" I said, "No one else was helping her. The staff obviously can't help. We're
yeah.
all in the 2 days together." And so the upshot was that is I'm an aggressive person who is racist because I don't know about Muslim Hindus. So I said, "Well, what happens there?" So we don't want you. I said, "Well, okay, fine." So I just walked out the interview. I said, so the farms guy was outside. So when did you start? I said, "They don't want me." He said, "You're effing joking. We want people like you because they're all toffee people in there."
Flipping it. I mean, I know you, and the last thing I would label you as is aggressive or or racist in any way, shape, or form.
Well, yeah.
And
So
so they might, right? Okay, that's interesting.
so then Cambridge heard about this, and they said, "Oh, come and join it." And literally, I just had a bag on with the police, and I thought, if bosses are like that at the top, and at the time, there's only one firearms officer in the whole Leicestershire who's qualified, who's trained.
Right.
So my mum obviously went back to a colleague at work, and she went back to her sons, and they said, "We just can't believe it, but because he's a superintendent, he overruled us."
Right. So
And
you
just
could have
one,
stepped in the shoes of the firearms quite easily, couldn't
yeah,
you?
well, just basically is what I was looking forward to is get a posh helicopter. But no,
So yeah, you had a bee in your bonnet, obviously, and I think I can totally appreciate why. So you were thinking we'll do one for the police. So what did you do then?
so the only people who, because I didn't exist on record for like 4 years, the only person who took me on was Securical, and the only reason was he is an ex military police guy himself. He obviously knew what I did. So after living in parcels for a year, and our mortgage rate doubled, and I can remember one Saturday when a the DIY store called Do It All, and a bottle of champagne behind the counter. And I said, "Do you want to win some champagne?" I thought, well, I've not had champagne for years. You know, we can't afford it. I was earning like £12,000. Maybe my salary had halved. My mortgage had doubled. I was about 5 in the morning, and it's kind of said, "Have a pension, have a savings plan, have a new career." So I ticked a new career box, not knowing this is Abbey life. So by the time I got home, the guy was literally on my doorstep. "When can you start?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You want to be a financial advisor?" No, I said, a new career." He said, "Yeah, but a new career would be a financial advisor." So I thought, okay. So he said,
So right, you were delivering parcels for who was it again?
Securical.
All right, I remember. And so you the was that the when was that in the 90s, early 90s?
Early,
Yeah.
no, actually 1990 it was.
Yeah, because I remember when because 87 crash, then 88, the
Yeah,
joint virus was lost, and that caused the housing boom, and then mortgage interest rates went up. Yeah, Bank of England base rate was around about 15%, wasn't it, back
well,
then?
we went from 7.9 to 15.9
Yeah.
in 6 months.
Yeah, I remember because at the time I'd started my financial, well, I was a financial advisor in 88, and what I was selling back then was mortgages, and people were tying in to 5-year fixed rates at 9.95.
Really. Well,
Yeah.
I had a 5 year 7.0, well, 110% mortgage at 7.99 fixed for 5 years. How about that?
Yeah, because I remember there was
And I didn't default
110%.
once.
Sorry, you didn't default once.
No, no.
Right, good. Excellent. Yeah, so that's a blast from the past, remembering
Yeah,
those mortgage interest rates.
yeah,
Yeah, so right, so you got interviewed on the doorstep by Abbey Life, was it? And
yeah.
then you just turned up, did you, or what?
Do you like coffee?
A lot of people tend to spend money on expensive coffees from outlets without even thinking about it. Well, for the price of just 2 coffees per month, you can gain access to valuable business and life resources gained from my over 37 years in business and 15 years in the military. These world-class resources are designed to help you achieve the goals, dreams, and aspirations you deserve. So visit joeteams.com now to find out more. That's JOETEAMS.com to find out more.
Yes, we went to Nottingham on the Monday, and there's me, a Premiership goalkeeper, a bus driver, and a maths teacher on this course. And the guy said, "Oh, there's a name top. There's like 3 questions on the board, and these are the test questions." But I turned around, what's that? What does it mean at the top? He said, "That's my name, Vaughan." And I've never seen the name Vaughan written down ever. And he said, "You passed because you asked a question." And he said, "If you don't know the answer, look behind you." And he said, oh, "I've got what the questions were." So I'm now qualified on half a day's course as a financial advisor. So I went back to the office and they said, "Oh, write down 100 people you know." I said, "Well, I don't know 100 people." So I wrote down, I got to, I don't know, 50. They said, "Oh, go and practice on them now. Just go through a fact find, ask them, if you died tomorrow, you know, what do you need? How much you got? Or therefore you need." And it basically a lot of knocking on doors or this is use yellow pages. I didn't use yellow pages at all, but and I just hated it. And I think that's one policy, that's to myself.
Yeah, I remember those days. Yeah.
We were just desperate for cash.
The-
And then the Prudential started recruiting. Again, this is all in like the space of 1 year. So my dad had a Pru car insurance, Pru savings plans, Pru pension. So they got chatting, and I had a phone call from one of the managers. Said, "Oh, we hear you're John's son, and your financial advisor. We come for a chat." So I thought, fine. So I was late getting to the meeting. I said, "I'm really sorry. I've just sold like a pension. I've got 3 referrals. I've got to go. I'm just so busy." No, but and the guy said, "What? You done that this morning?" And it's like 11 o'clock. I said, "Yeah. No, I've not stopped since 9. I was so busy." And he said, "So, what, you self-employed?" I said, "Yes." "How much do you earn a year?" I said, "Oh, well, I haven't worked it out yet. No, I've just started, but no, this morning I earned 600 quid."
yeah.
And he said, would you like a salary? Would you like a company car? Would you like a pension? Would you like some life assurance?" Oh, yes.
Of
So,
course, that was music to your ears, especially
so
back then.
he wrote a check out for 1,200 quid for my first month's salary. He said, "That's your first month's salary. Could get into your bank quick enough if you can sign today." So I joined Prudential on the 1st of December, 1990. And of course, they're on holiday then. So I'm just sat in the office on my own doing nothing, twiddling my fingers. So the phone rang and answered a few questions. And 6 months later, I got an invite from the MD to go to Madeira. And I'd qualified for I've done more business in 6 months than most people have done in a year. So I qualified for this conference. So this guy said to me, "What do you do sat at my table?" I said, "Well, I don't know, it's your table." But no, we all sat together. What you sat at my table for? And he was the Terry Shrimpton, who was went on to be MD of a bit of a barrel boy, but the chief exec was a guy called Jim Sutcliffe, who's 6'8", tall, really nice guy. Me and him just used to get on like a house on fire. They danced on table in Monaco, and but went on then to be what's called a star. They called it, what is a star? Used to have a star dinner every year. So went to Monaco, went to Grand Cayman, all over the world. But basically, I just loved the job, and it was great. But the pressure was off you because you had a salary. You didn't have to sell.
Yeah.
But even now, I've got clients. So I'm seeing a client this afternoon. Wendy, she was my first, probably December 1990. I met her, and she's still a client today.
Yeah, I've got some clients that are with me after decades, and
Yeah.
it's just about keeping them happy. So, there was a point where you got pretty disgruntled, wasn't there?
With whom?
With the policies just being sold to people. and
Oh,
what's
sorry.
needed.
Yeah. So again, so part of the credential, they should do the teachers ABCs. So I do a lot of that sort of Cambridge and Lincolnshire. And I bumped into a client one day. He said, "You're an expert, aren't you?" I said, "Well, I was, but I don't know what I am." But he said, "My daughter's being told to a teacher's pension scheme and have a personal pension. Can you talk to her?" So I said, "Yeah." So I popped round, and she was working for the MOD schools in Celle in North Germany.
Right. Okay.
So at the time, the MOD employed something like 1,200 teachers around the world in 59 schools. So you had Germany, Holland, Belgium, Cyprus, Brunei, Falklands, Denmark. That's about it. So I thought, oh, there's knew a bit about Germany, so I thought I'll go to JHQ to Windsor School, it's the biggest school. So I met the head, chatted to him, and he said, "Oh yeah, we're all cashing our teachers' pension, and we're getting £1 million sort of pensions." But from personal pensions, but not being funny is, why do you think that's better? He said, "Oh, because there's more noughts on the end." See, but there's no guarantee. No, you miss out on your dependents' pension, your widow's pension. And when I was in the army, I saw a policy by a firm called Wayne Marshall. This is back in the 80s before Financial
Yeah.
Services Act came in about 86 that way. So when I went to backtrack, when I went to buy my house, this you need an endowment. I said, no, I've got one, I've got this policy here, it's gonna sing and dance. And I
Yeah.
can remember basically this was a 35-year endowment I've been sold. And in those days, the commission was based on the premium times the term times the factor.
That's right.
So they cut the 35 years to 25 at the time. So the guy got 10 years more commission, or probably another third off
Yeah.
me. So first I wrote to them. And the Financial Services Act of 88 didn't come into, say, the Financial Services Act of 86 didn't come into force to 88.
That's
And because I
right.
bought
Yeah.
the policy in 86, I had no redress at all. I thought, you bugger. If I was Superman and looking after bosses, and you can shaft me, and the guy had a blue Porsche, I can remember this. If you can con me in a way, I'm sure I could do your job better.
Yeah.
So when I joined Abbey Life, I thought, oh, this is the sort of people they are. But it transpires this same guy was telling teachers to come out of the pension. This is probably 10 years later, still trading.
Yeah.
And but he's paying like a retired head teacher who knew all the contacts in and basically the MOD schools is a small close-knit community. You get allowed to, so you get your normal sort of teacher's salary, say 30 grand. You then get COLA, basically the LOA allowance of 10 grand. You don't pay rent for your quarter. You buy tax-free car, you buy fuel coupons for five. It used to be 5p a litre, fuel was.
That's right. Yeah, I remember.
And they're trading cars every 6 months. So they buy a Mercedes for, say, 50 grand, keep it 6 months, sell it back to the dealer for 10 grand profit. And it should be taxable, but it wasn't. So this guy's there. I thought, I know this guy. So I went to our compliance and said, oh, this guy, he shafted me. He's shafting these. What do we do? So they reported to the FCA, and the FCA actually shut the firm down. And sadly, one guy committed suicide. There's three of them. One guy committed suicide, one guy found God, and this guy then tried to sue me, which was even funnier because then I had all these cases. And he worked for a law firm. I said, well, sue me. No, what are you sue me for? No, it's your employee is ripping people off. And now the industry is a lot cleaner than it was. But
Well, of course, because I remember.
Funny.
Go on, sorry.
But it's quite funny how many people I met in the army who were still around in different units. We stayed in the officers' mess in people that were like VIP. So I had equivalent rank as a colonel. I don't know why, but so was rank as a colonel. Okay, so I go to stay in the messes, and they used to dine me in. So
Yeah.
I'd be out there working.
Well, I remember similar. There was a chap that, because back in the 88, even though the 86 Financial Services Act was enacted, I suppose, came into force, there were still people working on the old basis. And they were just going in and they'd sell policies just to make commission. And
Yeah.
I said, well, what do you do for a fact find? He says, don't do a fact find. And now I'm really pleased that the profession is so much more professional, and we take a lot of pride in what we do. Yeah. So that must have been your mission at the time.
It was, and it took. And what I should have done is charged a fee. You see all these PPI claims now is so. What I then did is help them claim basically those who weren't sold a personal pension were sold AVCs or freestanding AVCs. So the
That's right. I
cost.
remember.
So rather than pay through 1%, they'd be paying like up to 10% in some cases. So then I started helping them get redress back, and every case we put in, we won. But looking back now, what I should have done is doing like PPI, is taking a third of the redress, but then ethically I wouldn't do it. But is
Yeah, yeah.
I could have made millions off the back of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is that you did the right thing for your clients, and
Well,
that's why many of them are still with you. And I remember that back in 1988, in Maggie Thatcher's time, there were a lot of people encouraged to come out of the MOD and
yeah,
teachers' pensions, superannuations.
yeah,
And I did the transfer analysis on myself because I've got a military pension, and it said no, don't do it. So on that basis, I knew never ever
yeah.
to advise anyone who was military or teachers or public servants to
Yeah.
do it because it wasn't in the best interest.
But interestingly, so my potential pension was quite nice. So they after 10 years they made everyone redundant, so we had no choice but to leave. But in 2000 now, is I did a analysis of my pension because I was so peed off with Prudential for getting rid of me. Is how dare they get rid of the top guy? And I used to be one of the top 100 earners.
Right. Okay. Good
And
lad. Well done.
well, they said they want me to be a manager. I said, well, I don't want to be a manager. So we set a little team up of people who want to be like me, which is really weird. But basically, if you work hard, all you have to do is see more people than if you want to do twice as much business, you see twice as many people. It's not rocket science. So they gave me a team of like three people, and we had an extra sort of champagne budget, if you like. And four of us used to do 80% of the business for something like 40 odd people. But is you had people earning 30 grand a year, writing 20 grand worth of business. And I said to the crew, you can't sustain these figures. Now you're paying that salary, plus you got your pension, plus your life insurance, plus your company cars, all the perks on top. Is you need people who earning, say, you want to earn 30, you need to earn in 100 or 90.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they said, oh, it don't work that way. I said, yeah, but you should do.
Yeah.
And I went to the board and said, no, I'll set up a franchise for you if you want. And they said, no, but now the crew, some 20 odd years later, are doing a similar thing where, you don't buy your book, but you have your own postcode area that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's taken 20 years to do, which I said, well, I can just sort that out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's face it, some of these life companies and investment companies do take a while, and a bit like the Titanic, rather than that lovely craft you've got in your background, which we'll talk about in a second. What I want to know is what's the secret to your success? Because you're right, you're one of the top 100 earners, and I know you have your own IFA practice. And what's the secret to your success?
Hard work and a good team and a good family.
Yeah,
Probably
that's
not that word, but probably good family. But it is. People think it's easy to earn money. Well, I've been trying for years. It's not.
no. And if it was easy, everyone would be doing it, wouldn't they? Let's
Absolutely.
face it. Yeah,
But I think as a career is I've been involved trying to recruit people in the industry. I think as a career is I met so many people. I mean, Michael J. Fox's medical consultant in a few weeks' time by being at a do a few weeks ago. I've met Ann Summers, not the Ann Summers, but Ann Summers. Um, but every
yeah,
walk of life, I think I met someone virtually from test pilots to roofers to tilers to chimney sweeps.
yeah. And it's great, isn't it, to be in a profession and also to drive, because we'll talk about why you're going to see Michael J. Fox's specialist in a second, because we've looked at the success. How do you feel? How do you deal with challenges and failure?
I think every you say failure, I'd say challenge um, is everything has a solution, and if there's a problem, fix it. If you can't fix it, move on. And I don't have a magic wand, but to me is I'm a sort of positive sort of person. My glass is always half full. that way.
Yeah.
But is what we don't do is talk about problems. And then quite often if I get a problem, I talk to colleagues, to my wife, that way. And what might be a problem for you is easily solved by someone else.
Yeah. Because usually speaking, it's being dealt with already in some way,
Yeah,
shape, or form.
yeah.
Uh,
So I'd say one of the things I'm good at is find out where to find the answers. I might not know the answer, but I know someone somewhere who would know someone who would know someone. And
that's,
that's word for me. And to go somewhere and say, "Excuse me, I need some help." Um, and they'll feel quite chuffed that I've actually gone to them for help, thinking they say, "Well, I don't know, but I know someone who." And again, it's just finding a little network of people who can help.
and that's great because I often say that to people. I say, look, because I know you, you we're alike. We love helping people,
Yeah,
and the thing is that usually speaking, unless you ask someone who's a complete and utter, if you ask someone for help, the answer is going to be yeah, usually, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. But again, they feel good because oh no, they feel important. No, they see this chest will sort of puff up and think, oh wow,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And wow, you're asking me for help.
yeah.
Wow.
But again, the story I digress is I've got Sue Adams. She was the head of a little school in Gloucester, in Gütersloh in Germany.
Yeah.
Her PA in Germany was my PA at Prudential. Just as, again another small world, and we kept in touch. And she's a client, and she lives in Wellington down in Somerset. And I had a client family say, Adrian, you have any clients in Somerset, have you? So, what's my son's run out of petrol? He's on the M5. So, well, so I phoned
Oh,
Sue up and said to you, do you have a jerry can? So, I have from a lawnmower. So, well, can you help one of my client's sons? And she popped out on a Sunday, or whatever day it was, with a jerry can of petrol and help this guy out. I thought,
how good's
that
that
is,
for networking?
yeah. But she
Good.
felt so chuffed that I asked her. The client was so chuffed that another client came to her son's rescue. They're just little things like that to me. I just made me laugh.
And going the extra mile because you know what, you've stepped right into something that I wanted to cover.
It
How
was a
long?
Sunday. It was a Sunday afternoon. It was Sunday, and oh, Martin, I'm really sorry. I know it's a Sunday. I thought it must be important if he's phoning me on a Sunday because my clients know my weekends are mine. I know it's a Sunday, but I thought, well, yeah, but he knows it's my time.
Yeah.
Uh,
So how important do you think having a great social network and business network is in life?
Very, I think so. Even outside work, sort of social. So is I think, and this is going back to the army days in the mess. If you had a problem, you tell someone in the mess you got a
Yeah.
problem. He'd tell the whole mess. Problems, bit
Yeah.
immediately taken. Problem solved.
Yeah.
And you go to any like our village pub here, you walk in, everyone goes quiet, they don't know who you are. They've been in the village 10 years, but you got the farmers, you got the um, different cliques, if you like. But is you don't have that banter you do in the mess life, and I do think the mess life is part of the forces life, if you like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they say PTSD, yes, it's out there, but when you sort of see some things that you see, it's not surprising. And what which amazed me is you train someone to kill someone, he goes in the nappy, he has a punch up, you've got to arrest him for assault. Well, no,
Yeah.
we train the guy to kill people.
I know. I always found that interesting, especially when you get a guy come out of the military, or when they've come back from a conflict area, and they go out in Manchester or any city, and there's 8 of them having a drink and just having a good time, and then someone picks on them, and they go
Yeah,
effectively into all round defence, and then
yeah,
done for assault, and then only doing what they've been trained to do
yeah,
for months
yeah.
or years. Yeah.
No, so I only went to one court martial, and the guy basically a guy bit another guy because he's eyeing his girlfriend up. But one guy was a chef, one guy was a signaller, and so I said, well, if anything, I should be doing you for biting, not you should have punched his lights out. They bite him. I couldn't. Basically, the guy had hold of him, and he just massive, beautiful chunk out his shoulder he took. But I said, you should, if anything, you should be done for being a pussy and not knocking him out.
Of course, we wouldn't never say that officially, but yeah, I mean, I would imagine that because you were the listening ear, because I remember Have you ever wondered what is going to happen to all your knowledge, wisdom, and skills when you die? Yeah, me too. That is exactly the reason why I created joeteam.com, so I can leave a legacy for my children and for other successful people who are just like you. For less than 40 pence per day, you get access to valuable business and life resources gained from my over 37 years in business and 15 years in the military. These world-class resources are designed to help you achieve the goals, dreams, and aspirations you deserve. So visit joeteams.com now to find out more. That's joeteams.com, joeteams.com to find out more. In Germany, I was doing something in the middle of the night. I was just running down the street with a wheelie bin. We talked about this. And the Germans arrested me, and there was another chap. We were 18. We weren't doing any harm. And they had live a weapon, a pistol.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was a Luger or whatever, but I mean,
There'd be MP5s they have.
yeah, that's right, yeah, MP5, and yeah, he was quite threatening. So I just said, "Military police, please."
Yeah,
and I couldn't.
It's
wait.
quite funny. Is we'd be the worst people. You give anyone a beer, and we'd be the worst people. You need help, be it your wife, your daughter, your son. I had a guy whose son was raped, for example. That's quite a nasty thing to deal with. But we're everyone's best friend, and it's quite funny. It's like chalk and cheese. But because we did different jobs and wear uniform, people didn't know what we're doing. All we knew was we had a big bulgy pocket, and it needed help, and hence the general when he's a major. I can't remember what happened, but he was in Gütersloh, or I'm sure it was Gütersloh, and something happened. I said, "Well, I'll sort this out with the German police for you," and just made it go away, sort of thing. But what I like about German police is if you're caught speeding or you're fined for spitting or whatever, half that fine goes to the German police force, half goes to the state. Yeah. So policemen are encouraged to traffic offences. And likewise, is if you argue with them, there's a got called to this squadron leader guy. He was speeding, so they said, "Oh, how long ago was it? Marks. It used to be 3.3 marks to the pound." So
yeah, I remember.
Jim said, "Oh, 100 marks." I said, "No." He said, "200 marks." He said, "No, 300 marks." So then the guy ended up with a £500 fine for arguing. The German police called us. I said, "No, just pay it." He said, "Well, if you go to court, the judge will double it." He said, "But I've done nothing wrong to know you were speeding and you were arguing." He said,
Yeah.
I am wing commander or whatever." So I said, "It doesn't matter who you are. Is the law is their discretion."
Yeah. So something that we skated over really pretty fast. So when you were stabbed, how did that affect you at the time?
I was on a date, so I was a bit cheesed up. I just threw up over the guy, literally just the shock, and it took my finger off. And I tried. A guy came with a knife and off duty, and people. So I went to grab his arm. Of course, he pulled it in a cougar, like a Gurkha knife, and because he pulled it back, I literally just sliced my finger straight.
Oh,
I just thumped him.
Did you? And then it was sorted out. Yeah, and then the
sellotape. And then I used sellotape. I put my thumb back over my top.
What, with sellotape?
Yeah.
Oh well, just as you do. I mean that.
And they went to my centre. They said, "Oh, who put this out?" But taking the tape off that hurt.
Yeah. And with the other incident where you were shot, where were you then?
We were training,
right.
And obviously not very well. And I was in the tower, and the guy said, "Watch this," and he didn't realize I was up the tower, and he just went straight across my leg.
Oh.
And I literally, I come down again. I've never been so fast down that tower, but I got hold of him.
I bet you did. I bet that was an interesting confrontation. And then the bombing, when you were bombed, that was quite.
There's several, but we were quite lucky that they must have been so. Two secs. Postman.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, so as you can probably detect, Adrian has been in a few scrapes, and we'll be coming on to his career and pastime in the sailing world, which is absolutely phenomenal. The craft that he is actually skippering is brilliant, and we'll be covering that in a second. We've also
Sorry.
looked at the networking and business and social, how important that is. So you were just talking about the incidents that you experienced where you were bombed.
Yeah, so the big one, I think that was 500 pounds, or basically it's a Fuego car boot full of Semtex. So if you think it's probably 2 meters by half a meter by a meter.
Yeah, and £500
And
of Semtex is an awful lot. Having served with bomb disposal, I know what damage that can do.
but they reversed the car out. So we were on the edge of the camp, but they reversed the car so it was facing away. So when we look at the aerial photos, although our windows came in, the bomb blast went back probably 400 yards away from us. But they said it was a shockwave which did our windows and did the damage to us. But had they turned the car the other way, they would have wiped out, well, hundreds of people.
Oh, wow.
And that was close, that was, but that was scary. And
Yeah,
then
I bet.
the boom, it's like a sonic boom next to you. And at the time, I was something like 12 miles away
Right,
when it went off.
right.
When he came in,
Fortunately,
it's literally, well, we went down to where the state, we didn't realize how close, it must be about 100 yards away from the station. But it is 14 in had been following the car all day long, but didn't tell us, which really peeved me off.
yeah, that's 14 intelligent
Yeah,
unit. Yeah, yeah. And they didn't tell you.
no.
Right.
And had
So,
they told us, we would say, we probably would have seen the car at the police station window.
yeah,
Well,
and you could have
he drove past us about 4 times, apparently.
and you could have evacuated.
Yeah.
So how did that make you feel? And
Uh, Again, I think communication is key.
yeah,
Be in financial services, be in the forces, in life is all this thing about mental health is communication is again just simple.
yeah,
But is what I find with industry and the forces, if people have little enclaves, little powerhouses, they try and say, look at me, it might be a local authority, it could be politics, that way. But to me, is we're all in the same world together, all out here for a better life.
yeah.
I can't be doing with it, to be honest.
Well, thank you for sharing that and the challenge there. So now you touched on before the meeting with Michael J. Fox's specialist. What prompted that and for what purpose?
5 years ago, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's. My son Ollie, he works for Team GB, is in university. He said, "Dad, I want some trainers." And so I went to the running shop and put him on a treadmill. So he's bounced up and down. £110 later, bought some trainers for him. I said, "You have a go." And I turned 50, suddenly I was getting old and slow and fatter, and I'm not as fit as I used to be. And the kids, when the kids beat you at racing or
Yeah,
sport, I
yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
if you know you've done your job well. And the day that happened, I was just so proud of them. So they put me on this treadmill. I said, "What's wrong with you?" "I'm getting old and fat." I said, "No, but you run like a crab. You run sideways." I thought, "What do you mean?" And he said, he videoed me, and I run like left to right.
Right.
So he said, "When did you see a doctor last?" I said, "Well, the last time I saw him about 20 odd years ago, I ate some salmon from Tesco's, went green, ended up in hospital. Haven't been since." He said, "Why not?" I said, "Well, I've got no need to. I've never been ill, never had a day off work." So I said, you need to go and see a doctor. So I went to the doctor, said, "I've been to this running shoe shop. He's an expert apparently in whatever, but he said, I need to come see you." So the guy said, "Oh, I think you had a heart attack." I said, "Well, I haven't got a heart." So I walked this machine for 8 weeks. My heart's 5 years younger than it should be. So I went back and said, "No, my heart's fine." So you got a brain tumor. I said, "I got a brain." So they did an MRI scan, CT scan, brain's there. It's really spooky watching your brain, how it moves when you talk or when you look at it.
Oh, wow.
And that freaked me out a bit. And no, nothing there. So I went to see a neurologist. And I've gone private now, so I'm getting quite worried that all these people say there's something wrong with me. They can't find out what it is. So walking down the corridor with this guy, and he said, "Oh, what's wrong with you? You got Parkinson's?" I went, "Oh yeah, thanks, mate. No." And I advise Parkinson's people. So I said, I'm too young. He said, my youngest client is 7. So I'm thinking, oh, sugar. And he's being
Oh, wow, 7 years old.
7 years old. So I thought I'd been honestly set up like for like a candid camera or.
Right, yeah,
So he
yeah.
sat me down, and did so went for a test, and they do what's called a DAT scan where they inject radiation into your brain, and you have 2 little horns up here which go green, which means I've got it. So yeah, but then me and say Michael J. Fox is Peter. He's coming over in 2 weeks' time. He's just invested about £43 million in oh dear, in some treatment where some electricity in your brain is swollen, and if you reduce the swelling in these, I
Right.
think there's a word for it. I've totally forgotten what it is. It doesn't stop Parkinson's, but it helps sort of helps the recovery, if you like.
Yeah, it hinders its development.
Receptors in the brain. So
Right.
so he's coming over and we're talking about that. So I've got a meeting with him and putting people together from the city. The drug has been signed off in the States, but their drug laws there are totally different to our drug laws. So it's what's called stage 3 now. And to take it to stage 4, it takes 5 years. And we're trying to do it in 2 because I think it's
Yeah, because you're big on this now, aren't you? And
oh
you're
yeah. But what I hate is the drug is. I'm sure that if the NHS was privatised today, which I think it'll have to be in the future,
mm,
there's a not all cancers, but there's a drug out there now that will cure cancer. But because drug companies make so much money that way, they won't release it.
yeah.
So I'm anti-drug companies, but I'm for recovery if you can do through medical research somehow. But it's how do you bridge the gap so you stop making the risk? And okay, drug companies have to make money, I know that way, but when they're charging like it's like if you go private for an operation, if you pay yourself, it's cheaper than if you go through an insurance company.
That's right. And I remember on the podcast I interviewed Winston Wagstaff, who is really experienced, and he worked with GPs. He's a hypnotherapist, and
Right.
he doesn't like drugs.
No. See,
No, and he's cured people without drug
yeah.
intervention.
I find
And
sport
yeah.
is a cure for me. Okay, it doesn't stop it, but it does sort of slow it down, definitely.
Yeah. So you've never let that stop you, have you? And I want to talk about one of your loves, right? Because it's in the back. I mean, you just gotta look at this. That craft, that amazing piece of, I don't know, it's not machinery.
It's a machine.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
suppose,
yeah.
yeah. That amazing piece of machinery. How big is it, and what does it do?
Well, basically, when I got diagnosed with Parkinson's, I was told it's a shame I have to stop sailing. And I've always sailed for donkey's years, sailed with the army. I've been keen on the old boats by going to the 36 Olympics. So I went ahead and bought with a friend of mine called Ross the most complicated, fastest boat in the world we could find within budget.
Right.
So it's called an Open 50. It was designed to go around the world in 2005, and they changed the rules from 50 to 60. So the guy then put a 12-foot bowsprit, so the bit at the front like a torpedo. So basically, it's an Open 62 if you like. So 62 feet long. It draws 4.4 meters. The UK is totally the wrong waters because the Solent is normally about 3 meters. We struggle to get out of there. We can do.
Right.
But it's just so complicated. You've got canting keels, you've got dagger boards, you've got running backstays, you've got 4 head sails, and it's designed to sail single-handed. Well, I struggled. We did Great Britain Island last year.
It can be sailed single-handedly, can
Yeah,
it?
yeah, that's what it's designed for. Which there's no way I could or I want
Flipping
to.
heck.
But two of us can do it. I won't say it's comfortable, but no one sleeps, no one. one sort of
And what's it? What berth is it? What's it got a cabin for to sleep?
we don't have cabins, we have cot beds.
Cockpits. Okay.
Cot bed. So basically, it just folds down. It's like a Hessian sort of hammock
Ah,
almost.
right. Yeah.
Isn't it? Not, and we have a nice bucket to pee in as well.
Oh, well, that's all right. That's all you need, really.
Yeah,
Because the reason I love it is because I've sailed in the army as well, and I just marvel at it. And I've already booked the time to come down
yeah, but
and get on board with you. So
yeah.
what is what have you got lined up with it? Because I mean,
So
when you say you sail with the Olympics, how did you get involved with that, and what were you doing?
not the Olympics. It was the boat built for the. So back in '36, Goring built the 20 boats for the '36 Olympics.
Yeah.
So the British kept 15 as kept 5 as a war prize, gave 10 back to Kiel, who that they ruined it. But
Right. Okay.
now when we go sailing, we're probably the first non-professional crew over the line. So we did the Mythe race last weekend, which is 280 miles, and we came 7th out of 160.
That's phenomenal. That.
The boat in front of us had 12. We had 3 on board that day. We sport ourselves. So the boat in front had 12, but the guy, his boat's bigger than our boat.
Was it?
We could have beaten, we should have beaten, but again, is a mess up. But then the 5 boats in front of that are all professional crews who they would have been out all last week, sort of sailing, testing the ties, sail changing. We turned up on Friday from work, got changed in the car park, hopped on the boat, off we went. No, so we struggled. So we got a race to Dartmouth.
And by go on.
We're going to try and beat the world record around Ireland. We tried in March, but the wind isn't there. We'll try again in also September. So me and Ross will go and we'll sail anti-clockwise about 690 miles. And the record currently is 4 days, 19 hours and something.
Yeah.
But I bought the boat back in 2 weeks ago, and as I took it back, a guy called Tom Doolan, he set off to do it. I thought, have I got the tide wrong? Have I got it messed up? But he missed it by over a day, which is when people hear you can do world records, a lot of people want to try and beat you doing stuff, which is it's very competitive.
Yeah.
But again, but he's a professional, but it's what people don't realise. Ross is a orthodontist surgeon. I work as well, but these people, all they do, they've got sponsorship. They just sail day in day out. So there's more time to learn about the boat.
Well, that's phenomenal. And I mean, that was 280 miles. But I mean, the actual, because obviously you're not driven by motor, it's all by sail. So actually, that would have been hard graft, tacking and with the wind and everything.
It took me 5 days to recover. That was we did the fastnet. Well, we've done quite a few fastnets. The fastnet in 2021 we came 19th, and that was how far was that? That's going to be 680 miles. But the race last week was more challenging. But it took me 5 days to recover. It's my body just went through. It's like a workout, 24 hours a day in a way. Because you don't tend to sleep either, because the boat has to move through the night.
Wow. So thank you for sharing that. What's looking at all you've discovered about yourself and what you've learned and the career you've had, which has been, and you've got a lot more to come yet. How helpful do you think the skills you learned in the military were to help you transition and do so well in Civvy Street?
It's a hard question, really, Joe. What I found with farming and sailing, probably two, is I've learned far more farming and sailing I've learned in any classroom. So on the farm, you've got to know about you put fertilizer on the field. You got to shear a sheep. You got to sort of fertilize some chickens. That way it's like saying there's so many things to do that I've always had like several balls to juggle at the same time. But it's stuff in the classroom you can't learn. It's like in the army, a friend of mine, Bondi, came over from Canada. I've not seen him for 25 years. Went for a meal, and the friend said, "It's as though you've never been apart. We haven't spoken for 25. Well,
Yeah.
But it's like yesterday since we saw each other. So trying. is what I would say that I should have planned better. Is I thought I'd walk into any job. I thought being Superman,
Yeah,
everyone would
yeah.
want me, and literally it came down with a bang that made my skills only suited to some people that way. So I learned through the sort of hard knocks, I think. But that was probably my ego, probably down to me more that way. And I thought I'd walk into the police at Leicester. They thought no. And again, it's doing what you can and being aware of what you can't do.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. And what's the one top tip you give to someone who's leaving the military, or maybe has left the military and perhaps fallen on hard times, or they just want to get better results? They're already doing well and just want to get better results. What's the one tip you would give them?
Life's too short. Is do it while you can. Don't put off tomorrow what you can do today, and have fun.
Wow.
I think we're far too serious in life.
So don't put off today. Don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today, and just have fun and just do it.
Be it cut the grass, be it take a dog for a walk, be it doing these file reviews on my desk.
Yeah, I know what you mean now. Yeah. Well, listen, Adrian, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. Thank you for sharing your journey with me.
Take care.
Okay, thank you. Take care and have a brilliant day. JoeTeams.com is a resource I have created to fulfill my mission to help 1 million veterans and business entrepreneurs like you achieve the goals, dreams, and aspirations they deserve. JoeTeams.com is jam-packed full of valuable resources specifically designed to help you on your journey to success. Visit JoeTeams.com now to find out how you can join and start your journey to success immediately. That's JoeTeams.com, JoeTeams, JoeTeams.com. And until we meet again, have a brilliant day.